Ladies and gentlemen, queens in the making, women of fire and grace, listen closely. Because today, I'm not here to tell you how to speak just to be heard. I'm here to show you how a high value woman speaks so she can command the room without raising her voice. So she can light up the world without dimming herself for anyone. Let's get something straight. A high value woman doesn't chase validation. She doesn't speak just to fill the silence. She speaks with intention, with presence, and with power. Every word is aligned with her purpose, not her insecurities. She doesn't try to impress. She expresses. She doesn't beg for respect. She embodies it. A high-value woman understands that her voice is not a tool to win approval. It is a reflection of her truth. When she speaks, she does so with purpose, not performance. She doesn't twist her words to fit into someone else's expectations or play small to make others comfortable. She expresses herself authentically, without needing applause at the end of every sentence. Her value isn't determined by who claps the loudest or who agrees with her. It's built on the foundation of her self-worth. She speaks because her thoughts matter, her insight holds weight, and her experience has earned a place at the table. She doesn't dilute herself for acceptance, because she knows that the right people will respect her raw and real. While many scramble to be liked, a high-value woman is busy being heard. There is a rare elegance in how she communicates. Firm but not forceful, passionate but not desperate. She's not afraid of silence after she speaks, because she knows her words don't need echoes to validate them. She's not here to entertain or to charm her way into rooms. She's here to lead, to uplift, and to inspire change. Her voice is not a performance, it's a declaration, and she makes no apology for using it. Her language reflects intention, shaped by clarity and conviction. She speaks to add value to the conversation, not to please the crowd. Validation is a slippery slope. When you speak for approval, you give away control. You begin to adjust your tone, your opinions, even your truth to fit someone else's comfort zone. But a high-value woman resists that trap. She's not a puppet dancing for likes, nor is she a chameleon blending in for acceptance. She is rooted, grounded in her identity. Her power comes from within, not from a compliment, not from applause, not from fleeting approval. And that's what makes her magnetic. When she walks into a room and speaks, people don't listen because she's loud. They listen because she's real. She doesn't sugarcoat when honesty is required, and she doesn't over-explain when confidence is enough. A high-value woman knows that approval can be addictive, and chasing it often leaves you empty. So she sets her own standards. She doesn't adjust her message to win popularity, and she doesn't fear rejection. Instead, she welcomes it. It's proof that she's no longer molding herself for others. Her words reflect a woman who has done the inner work, who has faced her own doubts and come out fearless. Her speech is a mirror of her mind, clear, focused, and fiercely her own. When she speaks, there's a stillness that follows, not because she's shouting, but because she's speaking straight from her center. Every word carries weight because it's not laced with needness. She doesn't flatter to be liked, and she doesn't mask her intelligence to fit into shallow expectations. Whether in a boardroom, a relationship, or a casual conversation, her presence is undeniable. She communicates not to gain favor, but to add substance. There is no desperation in her delivery, only depth. No flattery, only honesty. No seeking approval, only sharing perspective. And in doing so, she shifts the room. People lean in, not out of obligation, but out of respect. They feel the difference when someone is speaking with rooted purpose instead of seeking a reaction. That is her power, her unwavering sense of self. She's not for everyone, and she's okay with that. Because when you're a high-value woman, you know the real ones will hear you without needing you to shout. You don't have to chase the crowd when you were born to lead it. And that's why when she speaks, people don't just hear her, they remember her. In a world addicted to noise, the woman who masters silence becomes magnetic. She doesn't rush to speak just to fill the gaps, because she knows that stillness has a presence of its own. People often underestimate silence, confusing it with weakness or shyness. But a high-value woman understands that silence is strength. It's the pause before the masterpiece. It's the space where thoughts become power. When she listens more than she speaks, she gains something most overlook: understanding. And with understanding comes control. She isn't just hearing words. She's reading energy, observing patterns, gathering insight. Her quietness isn't absence. It's awareness, and it commands a kind of attention that volume never could. When she chooses to speak, the room leans in. Not because she's loud, but because her words are rare and intentional. There's weight to what she says, because people know she doesn't waste her voice. Her silence is not awkward, it's deliberate. It creates mystery. It creates presence. It separates her from the ones who talk just to be noticed. People start to value what she says because they had to wait to hear it. Her pauses build anticipation. Her calmness unsettles those who thrive on chaos. She doesn't react emotionally to everything because she's mastered emotional discipline. And that quiet confidence, it echoes louder than any scream ever could. There's power in restraint, and she knows it. She lets others reveal themselves while she listens. She watches the world rush, panic, over-explain. And in that chaos, she remains still. Not because she doesn't have something to say, but because she knows exactly when to say it. And more importantly, when not to. Her silence speaks volumes about her self-control, her clarity, and her inner peace. She's not caught in the drama of needing to prove herself. She doesn't fear being misunderstood, because she's not available for approval. She's anchored in self-respect. And when she finally speaks, her voice slices through the noise like truth through illusion. What most people miss is that silence gives her the upper hand. While others show their cards in a hurry, she plays hers close to her chest. She understands the value of mystery. In conversations, in relationships, even in leadership, she doesn't reveal everything. She lets her silence stir curiosity. That's why people come to her, ask her opinion, value her insight. She's not trying to win a debate or dominate a discussion. She's mastering the art of presence. People feel her energy before she says a word. And in a noisy world, feeling someone's presence before hearing their voice is unforgettable. She makes an impact before she even speaks. She refuses to be performative with her words. There's no desperation in her silence, only confidence. She doesn't need to explain herself to those committed to misunderstanding her. She knows her silence is her boundary. It protects her peace. It demands respect. She uses it to redirect attention inward, to stay rooted when the world tries to pull her off center. She doesn't rush to defend her worth. That kind of self-trust makes her intimidating to the insecure and irresistible to the grounded. She's not just someone who speaks well. She's someone who holds power, even when she says nothing at all. And that unnerves those who are used to noise being a weapon. In her silence, she's building, while others are speaking out of impulse. She's observing, learning, preparing. She isn't reactive. She's strategic. She doesn't engage in every argument, because not every opinion deserves a response. She's selective, intentional, refined. Her voice has become sacred, not for everyone to access. And that makes it priceless. When she finally chooses to speak, it's not for attention. It's for impact. Her words don't just fill the air. They leave a mark. And in a world where everyone is trying to be loud, she becomes unforgettable by being still. That's her power. That's her edge. A woman of value doesn't enter a room to prove herself. She enters with calm certainty. Her calmness is not silence born from fear, but strength born from self-control. While others speak with urgency, she speaks with clarity. She is not swayed by the heat of the moment or the noise of opinions around her. She is anchored. Even when the storm rages, her voice remains still, deliberate, measured. Because she knows when emotions run high, clarity runs low. And so, she chooses calm, not because she lacks intensity, but because she has mastered it. In her calmness, there is power. A rare kind of power that whispers louder than any scream ever could. She doesn't need to shout to be heard. Her words are not cluttered with confusion or reaction. They are sharp with intention. Every sentence is designed, not dumped. Every pause she takes holds weight. People don't just hear her, they feel her. Because she isn't rushing to respond, she is responding to serve. Her calm delivery commands respect, not demand it. She holds her composure even in confrontation, because her emotions are not the driver. They are passengers she's learned to guide. And in that balance, in that control, she becomes magnetic. People want to know what she thinks because they trust the poise in her presence. A high-value woman isn't unbothered because nothing affects her. She's unbothered because she doesn't react to everything that does. She takes her time to choose her words, to place them like stepping stones, each one leading the listener to a deeper understanding of who she is and what she stands for. Her tone doesn't rise with the noise. It cuts through it. Her calmness isn't the absence of passion. It's the refinement of it. It's the fire that's been mastered. You can't intimidate her because she doesn't live to impress. She speaks like a woman who has nothing to prove and everything to protect. Most of all, her peace. When others panic, she plans. When others lash out, she leans in with curiosity. Her calm presence unsettles the chaotic because it exposes their lack of control. She's not afraid of silence because she knows silence can be a power move. She's not pressed to fill every moment with noise. She lets others unravel while she remains composed, watching, listening, learning. And when she finally speaks, her words become the lighthouse others were looking for in the storm. She turns tension into clarity and conflict into conversation. That is her magic. She doesn't dissolve under pressure. She delivers through it. Her calmness makes her unforgettable. In a world of reactivity, she is a rare presence of stability. People walk away from her conversations feeling grounded, not rattled. Because she doesn't just speak clearly. She thinks clearly. She has trained her mind to serve her, not sabotage her. And so, when she speaks, it's not to win, it's to connect, to inspire, to build. She doesn't mirror chaos, she resets the energy. And that ability makes her a force. You can't fake calmness, it's a language of its own. And she speaks it fluently, gracefully, powerfully. Even in her disagreements, there's dignity. She doesn't belittle others to make a point. She elevates the conversation. Her calmness is her shield. It protects her from impulsive decisions and reckless words. She's not cold, she's clear. She doesn't carry grudges. She carries wisdom. She knows the power of a calm no, the weight of a well-timed pause, the strength in not saying everything she knows. Her power doesn't come from volume. It comes from value. And her value is reflected in every word she speaks. Not rushed, not reactive, but rooted in the kind of calm that only comes from truly knowing who you are. A woman who leads doesn't waste her breath on proving herself to those who have already decided not to see her worth. She doesn't lower her standards to be accepted. She raises the standard of every room she walks into. Doubters will always exist. They will question, judge, underestimate. But she doesn't argue. She doesn't fight for their approval. Instead, she lets her actions speak in volumes that words never could. Her success becomes her language. Her growth becomes her reply. And her silence becomes the boundary that separates her from those still stuck in the noise. She doesn't compete. She creates. Chasing has never been her game. She's not here to beg for opportunities or force doors open that were never meant to hold her. She is the architect of her own space. While others wait for an invitation, she builds her own platform. She doesn't shrink herself to fit into broken systems. She redesigns the system entirely. She doesn't envy someone else's seat. She creates her own table with seats for those who move with integrity and intention. That's the difference. Leaders move from vision. Chasers move from lack. And she knows that if she has to chase it, it was never aligned with her in the first place. She carries herself with a certainty that leaves no room for begging. When she walks, it's not to catch up, it's to set pace. She is the one people follow not because she's loud or aggressive, but because she's real. Her energy is rooted, her vision is clear, and her purpose is loud, even if she isn't. She leads not by controlling, but by inspiring. Not by demanding, but by demonstrating. She doesn't lecture people about her greatness. She just keeps becoming it. Her results, her evolution, her consistency, they are the proof. She doesn't need to convince you of her worth. If you can't see it, you're not meant to walk with her. A high-value woman never chases what doesn't recognize her value, whether it's love, attention, or opportunity. She knows that what's meant for her won't require her to compromise her self-respect. She doesn't move with desperation. She moves with alignment. She doesn't run after people who walked away, and she doesn't plead for support that comes with conditions. Because she's not addicted to being seen. She's committed to being true. Her path is built on principle, not popularity. And because of that, she always ends up ahead. Not because she raced, but because she rose. Leadership, to her, isn't about titles or control. It's about impact. And impact doesn't come from chasing applause. It comes from staying authentic in a world of performance. She leads by example. She shows up consistently. She does the work when no one is watching. She makes moves without making noise. And people feel it. They feel her focus, her discipline, her fire. While others are busy talking about what they're going to do, she's already done it. She lets her progress be the reply, her presence be the proof, and her peace be the power. Her legacy isn't built on validation. It's built on vision. She leads because she knows who she is. She doesn't chase because she trusts what's hers will meet her on the path of purpose. Her journey isn't defined by how many people cheer for her, but by how boldly she walks, even when no one is clapping. That's what sets her apart. She doesn't wait to be chosen. She chooses herself. She doesn't wait for the world to open its doors. She builds her own empire and decorates it with grace, grit, and greatness. That's what real leadership looks like. That's what a high-value woman does. A high-value woman understands the rare art of balance. How to be kind without being a doormat. How to be soft without ever sacrificing strength. Her voice carries warmth, not to be liked, but because she chooses grace. She doesn't weaponize her words to win arguments or prove points. Instead, she speaks from a place of understanding. But make no mistake, this kindness isn't weakness. It's power under control. She doesn't raise her voice to be heard. She raises her standards to be respected. Her softness is not an invitation for disrespect. It's a mirror that reflects what others carry within themselves. She knows how to make people feel seen, but she will never shrink herself to make others comfortable. Her empathy is not a loophole to take advantage of. It's a gift she gives selectively. She sets boundaries not as barriers, but as definitions of where her respect begins. And if someone confuses her kindness for permission to overstep, she won't explode in rage. She'll simply retreat with quiet dignity. Because the moment someone crosses a line she's drawn with clarity, she doesn't argue, she exits. She doesn't tolerate mistreatment just to keep the peace. Her inner peace matters too much to be the price she pays for someone else's comfort. Her communication is rooted in intention. She doesn't speak to manipulate or guilt trip. She speaks to connect. She can offer grace while standing firm. She doesn't need to yell to make an impact. She chooses words that carry meaning, not noise. She's careful with her language, not because she fears confrontation, but because she knows how powerful her voice is. She protects it. She knows that kindness without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. So while she may offer a gentle smile or a compassionate word, she never abandons herself in the process. Her compassion includes her too. In a world that often confuses cruelty with power, she chooses a different path. She chooses humanity without humiliation. She doesn't need to tear others down to feel tall, but she also doesn't let others tear her down while calling it love. Her boundaries are clearly communicated. Through her tone, her timing, and her truth, she understands that real strength is not in overpowering others, but in knowing when to walk away with peace, instead of staying to fight battles that don't deserve her energy. Her kindness is courageous. It's not built on fear of rejection, but on respect for her soul. She holds space for people to express themselves, but not to harm her. She listens, but she doesn't absorb energy that isn't hers. She can support someone without carrying their burden. She can forgive without forgetting her worth. And this is where her elegance lies, in the way she knows what to give, how much to give, and when to stop giving. People may test her limits, but they'll quickly learn that while she is kind, she is not naive. Her generosity doesn't come with a blank check. Her love is deep, but never at the expense of her identity. Above all, she knows that her voice matters. Not just what it says, but how and why it says it. She doesn't need to over-explain, over-apologize, or overcompensate. She speaks with the softness of someone who's been through the fire and came out golden, not bitter. She is living proof that you can be gentle without being passive, that you can hold boundaries without losing grace. Her kindness is her crown, and her boundaries are the jewels that make it shine. She's not for everyone, and that's okay. She's not here to be owned. She's here to be respected, and that respect starts with how she speaks, with compassion, with calm, and with a clarity that never wavers. She understands that her voice is more than sound. It's influence. Each word she chooses is a reflection of her character, her intelligence, and her purpose. She doesn't speak just to be heard. She speaks to be remembered. In a world where so many waste their words on validation and attention, she speaks with precision, with intention. Her language is not random. It's refined. She's not in the business of convincing the world she's powerful. She simply speaks in a way that leaves no doubt. Her voice has impact because she respects it. She knows that her words have the power to shift rooms, open doors, or shut them forever. A high-value woman doesn't use her voice recklessly. She doesn't speak out of impulse or let emotion hijack her message. She's not reactive, she's responsive. When she speaks, it's not from a need to dominate, but to direct, to lead, to influence. Whether it's in a boardroom, a conflict, a moment of inspiration, or a quiet conversation, she's intentional. She listens first, not to respond, but to understand. Then she speaks with weight, clarity, and often elegance. Her voice isn't just heard, it's felt, it lingers, it resonates, it awakens something in others. And she never gives that power away by using it carelessly. She knows that silence is a language too, and she uses it just as powerfully. She doesn't fill every pause with chatter. She doesn't try to overpower conversations with volume or ego. Sometimes, the most commanding thing she does is wait. Wait to speak until her words are needed. until they matter. That discipline gives her voice more power. While others exhaust themselves trying to be loud, she chooses to be clear. And in a world full of noise, clarity is rare and unforgettable. That's what makes her voice a weapon. Not just that she speaks, but how and when she speaks. She speaks with self-respect. She doesn't lower her language to win approval. She doesn't gossip, degrade, or speak from insecurity. Her voice lifts, not shames. It asserts, not attacks. She doesn't argue to be right. She communicates to be understood. And when she speaks her truth, she doesn't shake. Because it's not a performance. It's her essence. Her values are woven into every sentence. Her boundaries are echoed in her tone. Her confidence is stitched into her silence just as much as her words. She doesn't use her voice to please everyone. She uses it to honor herself. When the world tests her, when people challenge her place, she doesn't scream to prove it. She articulates her purpose with power. Her voice becomes her signature, her armor, her compass. And she knows this: people may forget what she looked like or what she wore, but they will not forget how she spoke, how she made them feel with her words, how her calm, clear confidence held its ground. She doesn't let the pressure of other people's opinions distort her message. She's unshakable because she speaks from truth, not fear. Her voice is rooted, grounded, intentional. To her, every word has weight because she knows someone somewhere is listening. She doesn't waste her influence trying to be accepted. She uses her voice to shift narratives, to protect her peace, to ignite change. She writes her own story in the way she speaks it. Her voice is not just sound, it's a movement, a force, a revolution in heels, with poison and power. And while many try to weaponize their voice with volume, she makes hers unforgettable through depth, through meaning, through mastery. That's her gift. That's her edge. That's her legacy. A high-value woman doesn't just speak. She commands presence. Her voice is not a tool for attention, but a weapon of purpose, precision, and impact. She doesn't chase validation or shout to be seen. Instead, she lets her words carry the weight of wisdom, self-respect, and grace. Through calm composure, clear intention, and powerful silence, she redefines what strength sounds like, whether she's building, leading, protecting, or setting boundaries. She does it all with a voice that reflects who she is. Undeniably powerful, unshakably grounded, and unapologetically authentic. Because in every room she walks into, her voice doesn't just speak, it leads.